I'm a driving instructor and I got arrested for what happened in the passenger seat. Vicky was my worst driving student in 12 years. She failed her driving test 3 times and blamed everyone but herself. During our last lesson, she was texting when I looked up and saw a minivan full of kids stopped at a crosswalk directly ahead of us. I screamed for her to stop and my arm flew out across her chest on instinct half a second before she plowed into them. My arm was the only thing that kept her from going through the windshield because I looked down and she had unbuckled her seatbelt. She shoved me off and said, "Don't touch me, perv," with venom that made no sense. I told her I just saved her life and she needed more practice before I could give her a passing score. She got inches from my face. "You're going to regret this," she said, and walked out. The next morning, 2 officers put me in handcuffs in front of my students. She told them I groped her, and the story spread through town before I even made bail. I told the officers about the dash cam footage on the drive to the station, and they stared straight ahead like I hadn't said anything. By the time I was given a court date and allowed to leave, my wife was at the kitchen table refusing to look at me. I told her everything, including the footage that would prove it, and she nodded slowly, but something in her eyes had changed. "Why would she make that up?" she asked, and I didn't have an answer that satisfied her. My daughter Jenny came home sobbing because someone spray-painted PDF files kid on her locker, and the vice principal made her clean it off herself. I called the school to complain, and the secretary cut me off. "Sir, given the circumstances, I don't think you should be making demands." I said there was footage, and she said, "I'm sure there is," in a voice that meant she didn't believe a word. Parents canceled their kids' driving lessons, and I called each one back, explaining that dashcam would clear everything up. One father laughed at me. "Footage can be edited. My daughter's not getting in a car with you." I went to my wife's sister's house to explain in person, and she wouldn't open the door more than a crack. "There's dashcam footage of the whole thing," I said, and she looked at me like I was pathetic. "There's always an excuse with monsters like you," she said, and closed the door in my face. Jenny stopped bringing friends over because kids at school were talking. I found her deleting comments on her social media, and when I asked what they said, she burst into tears. "They're ruining my life because of what she said you did." Someone had told her details, specific things that Vicky made up. My daughter had images in her head that I couldn't take back. A week later, I reached out to touch her shoulder while she was crying, and she flinched away from me like I was dangerous. "Daddy, I'm sorry, I don't know why I did that," she kept saying, but I knew why. My wife filed for separation 2 weeks before the hearing. I begged her to just watch the footage with my lawyer, but she shook her head. "Even if you're innocent, I can't live like this anymore." I sat alone in my empty house the night before court, knowing that the truth had been sitting on a hard drive for 2 months while everyone I loved walked away. The court date finally came, and my lawyer said he had video evidence that proved my innocence, and I saw Vicky's confident mask falter. She didn't know there was footage of everything. The judge allowed it as evidence, and my lawyer hit play. The screen came to life with both dashcam and in-car video of Vicky texting while running a red light, Vicky nearly hitting a pedestrian, then Vicky drifting toward the minivan, and my voice screaming and my arm flying out to catch her right before impact. "Oh my God," Vicky's voice said on the footage. "That was so scary. Thank you." I didn't even see them. Someone in the courtroom gasped. The next video presented showed her at my desk after I told her she failed her test, leaning into my face with her finger in my chest. "You're going to regret this," she said on the screen. Vicky started sobbing in the courtroom. Her mother's face froze. Her lawyer tried to argue the footage was edited, and my lawyer held up the timestamp certification without saying a word. The judge looked at Vicky for a long time. Case dismissed. Jenny was waiting outside and ran into my arms so hard she almost knocked me down. My wife texted 2 words that night: "I'm sorry."